There we go, guys. Sorry about that. Hold on, let me just take off the album. I can hear myself. Let's take this off. Okay, sorry about that. I was kind of in a rush to go live stream here. So, um, let me just check on. I mean, there's a lot of the other settings. So if what's up? First off, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. My name is Jonathan. Um, how's everybody doing today? Hope you guys are enjoying your weekend or have been enjoying your weekend. So sorry about the audio issue. It happens. Um, I was doing some stuff. My fiance had to go do some errands. I was doing a little bit of here, but I totally lost track of time, and I was like, oh, I gotta go live in like 30 minutes, and I didn't really get enough time to really set all the audio settings. So if once I start transitioning to different scenes and stuff and camera angles, you're obviously probably not going to hear me. So hopefully this sets up for everything. I don't know. Here, let's try something out here. Let me see if I can switch over. This I don't know if you guys can still hear me, right? It should still be able to work. It's a little odd. Okay, now I can hear myself. Good. Okay, so we're good. Um, let's get back on over again. My name is Jonathan. Welcome to the channel. The other camera works. Thank you so much. Me Dibbles. Yo, dude, you're awesome, Dibs. Thank you so much for mic checking me. um, as again, my name is Jonathan. Welcome to the channel. It is 12:11 p.m. here in the northeast of the United States, northeast coast of New York, here in Staten Island. It's beautiful weather. Having awesome weather this weekend. Right now it's in the 70s, I believe, and bro, we had a pretty good time last night. Me, fiance, my brother, we went hanging out. But I won't get into that right away. We'll just probably get into that later on and tell you guys how my weekend's going. We're gonna be getting into service calls. Conversation today is gonna be service calls. And also, what else did I totally look at that. I almost forgot what we're gonna talk. We're also gonna be talking about safety, job site safety as well, and how important it is to be on the job site. But before we get started, you know what I gotta do. I gotta run the intro, before we get into it. Also, we're gonna get into questions, get some answers. Anybody who has any questions here in the chat. Me Dibbles here. What's up? Dibs has been dude, he's been so supportive, coming to my channel, coming to the chats, into the stream every week, and I appreciate that, man. Much love and support for you, buddy. He says it's been raining most of the weekend. That how I can avoid to work, and I should be doing that. I should be doing. Hey, man, everybody has their preferences. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, if you gotta work, you gotta work. Lawnmower, hey, what's going on? He's in chat, but hey, we'll get into it. We'll get into the introductions. We're gonna, shout outs to anybody who wants to make a shout out. We're gonna get into that. Before we do that, gotta run the intro. So the audio might not come out. So forgive me if there's no audio. I'll try to fix it. And of course, there was no audio. I don't know what's going on. It's I don't know, man. It's the software laptop. All right, what's really going on is that it could be it's possible that we use this laptop. My fiance uses laptop for remote learning, guys, and she likes to go wireless, use the Wi-Fi, and not, LAN connection. So I guess the multiple times she's got to disconnect everything and reconnect, and I reconnect everything back. It kind of screws up the software. So please forgive me if the audio is not that great. Hold on. Okay, so yeah, I can hear myself in this chat here. So welcome, guys. Lawnmowers here. If you listen, if you guys want my attention, by the way, anyone wants my attention, they had a question to ask. What you can do is type in at KleinGuy Jon, okay, in the in the bottom below where you want to chat. You type at KleinGuy Jon, and you have to type it specifically this way. My name will highlight in orange on my end. That way, I can grab your attention. You can grab my attention, and I can focus on the questions or any statements or comments you have in the chat. If you see people in the chat highlighted in blue with a blue wrench, they're the moderators of the chat, meaning they are making sure no one is saying anything negative, no one's promoting any spam, any advertisements, and they will get timed out or kicked off. And I appreciate the moderators, such as Lawnmower. His name is highlighted in blue. He's got a blue wrench. He's the moderator in the chat as well. It could be multiple moderators. And look, do what me Dibble did as well. Look what he did. He typed in at KleinGuy Jon, and I can see my name. I need to hire a Sparky. Some of the work I need to do, I'm not qualified. There you go. He needs to hire Sparky. And yes, Sparky is another term for us electricians. We're called Sparkies because we deal with electricity. Yeah, man. Look, best way. I don't know how it works out in London or in Europe, but I mean, obviously, you want to make a few phone calls, call in a couple contractors, see what their service rates are for a service technician to come in and work on your electrical. It's always good to get a rate. For instance, if you're looking for a company, I call a company and they say, hey, I want to know what their rates for a technician to come to my house and fix what they ever got to fix or install whatever they have to install. They'll tell me somewhat like, oh, well, we charge $175 for the first hour, and then per hour after the first, it's $80 per hour. That's basically how it works here. Is how we, most companies do here in the U.S. I'm not sure. Maybe England may do something different. Maybe their pay rate, their rates are different. The way they, set it up. But yeah, check them out, man. Make a couple of phone calls. Go online. See what what contractors out there in your area are basically charging for. And who knows, you can probably bring down the rate, maybe bring the price a little bit, or you find a cheap price, and if they do a good job, they come over, do a good job, you can refer them and let them know, hey, I'm going to refer you guys a lot. And if you do that, you can possibly even work with them more, and they can probably, along the way, they can even offer discounts. Like, if you're a customer that, you're a customer that is that you're the type of customer that you rely on that company to do work on your house or anywhere else, they might give you a discount, a percentage off. So it's always good to, make a good relationship with a contractor that you work with, as well. So it becomes like, it's just who you know and who you're comfortable with as well. But yeah, check around, make a few phone calls, doesn't hurt. Lawnmower says, by the way, your extended warranty is about to expire. Robocalls, dude. Robocalls. I hate those. I know everybody gets that phone call here and they say your motor vehicle or your car warranty is about to expire, and I don't even own a car. I don't own a car. I don't have car insurance. I have a driver's license, yeah, but I don't have my own car. Dibble, do you get a lot of spam phone calls in the UK? I have a few quotes for the job quotes are free. Oh, that's cool. We get loads of them, he says. We get them too here, bro. It's just ridiculous. Like, seriously, I one time had a phone call, and it was a guy on the other line, like a real person, and he's telling me, oh, Mr. Rodriguez, you're about to your motor vehicle warranty is about to expire. I'm like, okay, well, can you tell me what type of vehicle I'm driving? And the guy just went like, he was like really hesitant to tell me. He was just like, just focused on like me paying for the warranty. And I'm like, okay, dude, but you're not answering my question. If I have a warranty on a vehicle, it should show the name, the VIN number, and everything about that vehicle that has I'm under warranty for. He could not tell me. So I was like, okay, dude, you're spam. You are you're you're a scammer. So leave me alone. Stop calling me. And I just hung up on him. Oh man, dude, it's so annoying. Um, so now that we got that little bit out the way, um, before I get into anything, I just want anybody in the Northeast and here in New York City within the five boroughs, you guys, any apprentices out there, by the way, who are looking for work, listen. Go back to my last videos. I just want to keep that as a reminder. If you go to my previous video live streams, you need advice on how to prepare for like an interview or what you need to know or what's expected of you as an apprentice. Check out the previous live streams, couple live streams before this one, and you'll get a little more information. If you have any questions, also you can email me any questions and technical questions about the trade. There's an email in the description box down below. You can email me directly. Okay. D Dibble says they asked for Mr. Dibble and tell them no one of that name is here. Known fact, that is true. Yeah, sometimes I get names like a John or a James or Markel. I'm like, dude, there's no one under that name, and they'll just persistently ask for that person. I'm like, I don't know that person. Like, stop calling me. um. So before we get into it, I just want to let you guys know. Also, anyone, any DIYers, anyone looking for an electrical contractor. Um, if you are looking if you live in the five boroughs or mainly in the heart of Manhattan, so that takes care of that part of our advertisers. So, yeah, give us a call. We do a lot of work. We may even, help you out. And for any senior citizens, we give discounts for senior citizens, I guess. Yeah, around there. If you're a senior citizen, you live at home alone, and just give us a call. We'll come right to you. Um, so I'm getting a lot of notifications all of a sudden. Construction cronies, man. Let me tell you, he's blowing up right now, like crazy on. It's just nuts. Like he's doing video every day, and that's awesome. Like he just got a notification: green glue and double layer 5/8 inch drywall YouTube studio build. Dude, his studio build is like wicked. It's totally wicked. Totally wicked. Oh, video and sound stuff, really? Oh, I don't know about you, dude. Lawnmower. You might have to bring up your volume, dude. I can hear it just fine on my phone. Um, don't know what happened. That doesn't work. They don't even know my name when they call. Bruce Lee, what's up, buddy? Hey, how you doing, Bruce Lee? Welcome to the channel. I appreciate you coming over. So today, service calls. Let's get into it, right? So, um, for those of you who are getting into the service calls, like there's a preference for like any trade. Like some guys like doing service calls. Some guys like, some tradesmen like doing contract work, big jobs. But I know I know a few guys actually. There's only two guys in our service department. Me being also one of them, and I switch between service and contract jobs, like big project jobs. We just call them projects. Let's just or contracts, whichever sounds suit for you. Bruce Lee says, I have a question. How do I find a residential new construction electrical company? I'm working for one now as an apprentice, but it's really far. So I'm trying to find somewhere close. No one has ads out. Bruce Lee, first question is, where are you living? Where do you live? Um, and the second is, my advice to you, try Indeed, Indeed.com. Indeed.com is a really good website. I find, like, in the past when I was looking for work as an apprentice and a junior mechanic, I relied on Indeed.com. It helped me a lot. It actually helped me get a job with the current company I work with, which I just advertised, Leader Electric. I literally found them, send my resume over. You can send your very own resume, or you can have a generic resume that the website provides. All you have to do is fill out all the information that it asks you, like your experience, the years, company histories, like past job histories about yourself and so forth, your skill level, and It'll automatically send out your resume to different companies. You can also put a preference about how close, how far you can travel as well, and it'll find the nearest company that's closest to you, or nearest contractor that's close to you that's hiring. So I use Indeed.com, but in your case, if you're looking for someone like residential new construction, try it out in Indeed. Or if you have friends who are in the construction trade and they know anyone who's working like electrical contractor, ask around, give out your number, give out your information, let them know, and be honest also, because here in New York City, a lot of times in this trade, you get a lot of. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to blow smoke or and call out any apprentices that do this, but it is a known fact that most apprentices who come out of school or just have maybe like 6 months experience, they they would usually be honest and truth. And I've seen this many times, multiple times. I've seen guys do this, or they ask me if they want me to do this, like do this for them. They would know someone in the trade and tell them, hey, I've been I only have like a few months of experience, but can you tell your boss that I'm like a mechanic and this? Listen, it's not. There's a process of this. You cannot do that. You can't ask someone in the trade and even if they're like your closest best friend, you can't just tell your buddy and say, hey, can you just lie to your boss and say, hey, I got like 3 years experience? Because when the boss hires you, they're gonna put you through a test, and if they show that you don't have that experience, you're kind of not only making yourself look bad, you're making your buddy look bad too, because now they're not going to trust your buddy who works for them to hire anyone else outside. So it's always good to be honest with yourself. Go out and just say, hey, listen, I only have 6 months of being in the field, but I want to learn more. I'm really into this trade. I really want to build this into a career. Be honest. Be hungry. Let the employer know that you really want to be in this trade and you want to learn. Um, Bruce Lean says, hold on, Bloody Shot HVACR. What's up, buddy? Try LA construction is at its peak. Bruce Lean says, North Carolina, the only places hiring is service and commercial. I really enjoy residential and construction, and I want to figure everything out before I get into it. My advice, well, how long have you been? First off, how long you been an apprentice for? And I want we go by honest answers here. So, I know I sound a little blunt and I sound a little rude, but this is just what it is. This is what an employer wants to know. How long you've been employed, okay? Be honest. Don't just sugarcoat it and say, "Yeah, I done this and that." Just be honest with yourself. But um the question is like I need an employer would need to know like how long you've been doing this for, and you know they're also going to ask what do you want out of this trade, okay? And yeah, just let me know how long you've been you've been an apprentice, but for how long you've been a credit. So you've been an apprentice for a first year apprentice, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year. Usually that's 5 year apprenticeship. Um, but union wise, that's why they go unions. Unions also go through an apprenticeship program where it's 5 years. Then you have an M1, which is a mechanic first year. M2, I think, is second year mechanic, and then you have your M, which is a third year mechanic and higher. Um, M rates get better pay, and then there's the journeyman. Journeyman is gets even the highest pay grade, but it varies different around states, I guess, when different unions, so it varies. So you're in North Carolina. How long have you been an apprentice for, Bruce? While I wait for his answer, service calls. If you are, like I said, going back to service calls, while I wait for Bruce to answer my question there, so I can get a little more info and I can help him out. Um, Service calls when there's some of you out there who like doing service calls. Oh, just straight up service calls. You don't want to deal with anything construction, or you got guys who prefer construction. But since we're talking about service calls, those of you who are out there like junior mechanics or mechanics, and you prefer to do service calls because you know, you like to be informative. Maybe you're the type that likes to work with people, like you're customer service savvy. When we as electricians are on the service department, you're going to a homeowner or a client's house. You're either doing an estimate or you're doing actual work. You're doing a service in their home. Um, we like to be very you have to be very informational, like you have to be very knowledgeable in this trade. I feel, because I'm jumping back and forth between service and contracts, I feel the service department, when you're in the service department, you need to be more well informed on things like in this trade. You have to really have really great amount of knowledge about code, and about installation standards and methods and standards, and basically an all around service guy. You need to know your theory, especially. And you have to also, when a customer approaches you and says to you, it's like you'll have customers that are come to you and ask you curious questions about electricity. They're gonna ask you like, well, things that they've heard, and they're gonna ask you, hey, I heard that, you know, electricity goes one way. Not all the time. You're gonna tell them, hey, there's two different directions of current. You have direct current, you have AC current. Direct current goes one way, um, from a negative to a positive. You have AC current, which goes positive, negative, negative, positive. It goes back and forth very rapidly. You just don't see it. But in reality, we all know when we look at it physically and we're doing an AC system line circuit, you're going to know that you're thinking, okay, electricity is going to one outlet, out through the neutral, and back to the source, or back to neutral wires, and power back to the utility. Um, that's what we will see that in reality. Like that's how we know like how electricity works. But we do know, like most of us do know, that electricity works differently. Protons, electrons, all that sort of thing. You're gonna have customers ask you these questions. They're gonna ask, why is it built? Why do you have to install it this way? Why it has to be that way? Why does electricity work this way? Why does a GFCI work this way? You're gonna have a lot of questions from customers who are gonna be very curious of why, because they don't usually they never know, or some do. Some have knowledge about electricity, but they don't have the they don't have the mentality of an electrician. meaning that we as electricians have an idea of why things are done the way they are, and the reason for those things, because we have to go by code. And a lot of times I get from customers when I'm doing service calls, they always ask, well, why do we ground? Why do we ground? And sometimes that's a really tricky question to answer for some electricians who aren't knowledgeable, or they are, but they've always had the thought, the knowledge of like how grounding works. And grounding, and believe it or not, grounding is very important. Grounding and bonding, Article 250, it's very important. Bruce Lean is back. Since the first of this year, the company and I work for now is based over an hour away. So all the work is out there. Nothing is out my way at all. Well, Bruce, like I said, since the first of this year. Okay, so are you saying that you just started electrical work? Have you gone to school, or are you just coming straight from like the street? Like I have, like the type that comes in and say, I have no idea anything about electrical, but I'm intrigued and I want to give it a shot and see it's for me. Or um, I see, since the first of this year, the company work I work for now is based over an hour away. Okay, so now you're technically not an apprentice. You're coming in as a helper. From what it sounds like, it's the first time this year you're starting out in this trade. I get from what you're typing here. Um, if it's your first time doing electrical work, and I get this, I hear this a lot as well from a lot of first timers. Either they're coming out of trade school, or they're just coming off from the street and like wanting to know the trade, and they have nothing. They have very little experience, very little knowledge. And this is not to listen. This is not to make you feel any type of way, okay, bud. But hear me out. You're a helper, which is great because you're starting off fresh. You work. This is the first time you're working for this company. First of this year. Okay, so you're a couple of months. You're a couple of months in, which is great. Um, so I'm gonna assume that you just started in January. I'm just gonna, because way you're phrasing it out. Um, but yeah, I'd say learn as much as you can. I can understand the distance wise is going to be difficult, but if you are looking somewhere close by, I still say like, hey, put your resume out there. Go on Indeed.com. It works. I like Indeed.com. They're very good at looking. There's a lot of contractors out there looking for mechanics, junior mechanics, or even apprentices or helpers. But for your state right now, um, since it's a bit of an hour away, listen, when I first started, I'm gonna be honest with you, as a helper coming out of trade school, um, and knowing what I known in trade school is a little different than in the reality world, in the reality world sense. But learning as a helper, coming in as a helper, it really, depending on where I just wanted to take any job. When I came out of school, I was like, you know what, I'll take any job anywhere in the 5 boroughs and just like learn. No matter how far it is, and it's gonna be a pain. It really is a pain at times, but I'd say work through what you have now. Learn as much as you can. Find a mechanic. Okay, find a really good mechanic, a mechanic that knows the trade, that really knows the installation of things, the standards, the methods, and then theory as well. You're coming in 5 months now, from the sound of it, from the sound of what you're phrasing here. Um, by now, you should already learn how the use of power tools, the use of hand tools, a little bit more knowledge of use of power tools, hand tools. By now, you should start learning your theory. Okay. Um, Now I know that you don't probably get paid much as a helper. Understandable, totally understandable. But if you should start learning also how to put money away. And what I mean by it is like when you come in this trade, okay? hold on one second. Bruce Lean says, yes, I just started January. I've been in the construction industry for a few years, but I was a carpenter before. We worked so much. I get the house 5:30 a.m. and don't get back till 8 p.m. You were a carpenter. Okay, so here's the thing. It's a little different, buddy. Carpentry, it's a great trade. I'm not knocking carpentry. Carpentry here in New York City is like it's getting big, and especially electrical here in New York City and everywhere else. And it's on demand. Carpentry is on demand as well. But if you're changing trades, the thing is you're gonna work obviously the minimum wage of what you know. Now, if you know basics, I know some carpenters do know electrical, but not as much as an electrician. Um, learn you should right now you should start learning theory about now, and whatever money you got saved up, um, I would say for you, put money aside for education wise. Now you may have some companies you may come across, maybe your company will provide that. Not sure if they do or not. You're gonna have to ask your employer or your boss and say, hey, do you do job training or or schooling? Ask. It doesn't hurt to ask. If they don't, ask them, hey, I'm trying to learn on my own on theory. You maybe can come up with you come up in the conversation where maybe you can ask your boss, would you pay for my books or pay for my schooling or whatever? And maybe they can work something out. If not, this is where you want to. If not, I'm just saying, if your boss doesn't want to do that, start investing in yourself. Okay, put money aside on a separate account. Um, and what you want to do is look up books on Amazon or on whatever website or on eBay about electrical theory. Okay. The best one I like to read, and I'm gonna be honest with you, is this: Mike Holt's Electrical Theory. Get this book. Okay, it's the book by itself is like $53. It comes with the DVDs, but if you buy it with the DVDs, like 260 something change or something like that. His books are pretty expensive, but over time, like if you're starting off as an apprentice, just go a little by little. You don't have to go the whole shebang. Get the book; it's really good. Um, it's don't get discouraged by the way, but how thick the book is, because a lot of helpers who are getting in this trade, they tend to get discouraged. Okay. Yo, Conan man, what's going on? We have a big IBEW training center in the Dallas area. That's true. Dallas is really on point, especially state of Colorado. If believe it or not, state of Colorado's right now, their electricians, their job safety and code, they are always up to code and standard. They're like 100%. Like they do everything by the book. But a lot of other states, some are good. Their installations, if you look online, like how good are states with their job training and their how many, you can look online, like on anything on Google, you can find out how many companies or states have been through electrical violations and whatever. Bruce Lee says, I didn't go to trade school. I learned framing and modeling from my uncle, and when I was on the remodel jobs, I would see the electricians, and I took interest, so I tried it out. I enjoyed it a lot more. Well, that's good. That's good. But like I said, if you want to up your game and you're starting off as a helper in the electrical trade, you're going to start you got to start from the bottom. Like any trade you walk in, because when I first started in the electrical trade, before electrical, I started doing HVAC work. And then when that didn't work out, I switched over to electrical. I went to a company and I told them, hey, I was getting paid 21 an hour doing HVAC work at the time. And my first boss looked at me and says, no, you're going to get paid 10 an hour. And that was the minimum wage then. So I was like, okay, yeah, because he's got a point. I'm switching trades. So you're learning from the bottom. You're back from the bottom up. But yeah, I'm glad you enjoy it. But if you want to up your game, get an electrical theory book. Mike Holt's Electrical Theory. Look, I mean, it's really great. It's even got graphics. Okay. It tells you from electrons, from electrical fundamentals, all the way to transformers and motors and generators and how they work. It's a fantastic book. Um, they even provide you questions on every chapter. You get to answer them. You know, the graphics are amazing. They're very self-explanatory as well. And Mike Holt's like products and his electrical training is outstanding. I have most. I have his books. I have not all of his books, but some of his books that are very important. Another book you should do, Bruce, is get yourself, depending on the state you live in, because North Carolina, I think you guys are in 2017 NEC, the NEC code. Um, so if I think you guys are on 2017, get yourself a grounding and bonding book as well. Grounding and bonding is really important. This book on grounding and bonding, I mean, look at this. This is amazing. Like normal textbooks that I've gotten when I first started, they did have graphics in them, but the some of them that they gave me didn't really have a lot of graphics on them, and it was very hard to understand by just reading texts. You kind of want to visualize things, and you want to see like, well, how is it done? How does it look? You know, in the real world, we want to see that in the book, and that's what Mike Holt does. He gives you illustrations. He gives you graphics that'll show you this is what it will look like in the real world. You know, this is what you'll come across, and it's really good. His products are good, and they come with DVDs, and he explains a lot better through the DVDs as well. Conan Man says again. Oh, Bruce Lee says so. I decided to switch trades. So what made you switch trades, by the way? Let me get. Well, obviously you did answer that because you enjoy a lot better. But what kind of like? Let me see. What would see the interest, and I took interest in try. So you took interest. Okay. Okay, and you switched trades. Okay. So how was that like for you to switch trades? Like did you feel like, I mean, obviously you had to take a pay cut, which is, that happens. But and you're enjoying it now. Do you see yourself doing this for the next 5 to 10 years or more? Because if you are, you should invest in yourself in this trade by educating yourself, knowing code, and knowing code and in theory is very important as well, as much as it is on also the physical aspects, like the actual labor of the job. But either way it goes hand in hand. But I feel that if you know it hands on better, that's great. But at times you need to come and know the theory, because if you really want to climb the ladder, you really want to like make it up, to being like from an apprentice to a junior mechanic to a mechanic to a foreman or a journeyman, you really got to step it up by knowing your theory, because you're going to come across jobs where let's say you go to a residential home, and they're let's just say all your theory and everything, and they're like, hey, listen, we want you to do we want you to calculate all, do the calculations, load calculations, and if there are going to be any voltage drops, along the way. You could determine voltage drop. You could determine load, calculate. You can certain loads on circuits, and that way you can just draw it out on paper and then put it on the general notes and prints, and you can actually have all your information on your prints, on your specs, and get the job done a lot faster. If you have all that information, all that knowledge, you become a much more valuable tradesman, a valuable asset to a company, that you could be working under. Oh, here we go. I'm getting a lot of. Oh, okay. Hey, getting some notifications here. What's this? Christina Smallhorn just texted me. It's a live stream. I don't know why she's asking. What's this? That's weird. Um, Sorry about that. But yeah, you'll become a more valuable tradesman, if you learn more on your theory as well, because it comes in very handy when you're on a job site or if you're on a service call. So I enjoy helping, and you see, guys, I enjoy, like, we have Bruce Lee, like, he's an apprentice. I enjoy answering these questions and helping other apprentices out, because this is what this is all about, helping apprentices or you know, or some mechanics, because I once in a while I get a few mechanics in the field who ask me like, hey, I never knew this, I never knew that, and they'll ask me if you have experience in that, and I'll tell them, hey, I don't have experience, but I like to, we can learn together on it, or yeah, I have this experience, I've been through this, like here, this is how you go about doing this, or doing that. So this is what it's all about. But that's great, man. I have a question actually for Bruce Lee. Why did you decide to switch from carpentry to electrical? I mean, carpentry is it's a pretty good trade as well. Uh, just kind of what made you do want to switch over, dude? I'm curious because I mean building things with your hands as well in carpentry is like that's a plus, like big time plus. But yeah, tell me more about why you want to switch over. I'm just really intrigued by that. Oh, what happened? Um, I just got an email. That's weird. Who is this? And what is this about? What is this about? Okay. Sorry guys. Give me 1 second. I'm getting an email here. It was a very important email. Caught your eye. Okay. Oh, great. Awesome. Sorry about that. So, yeah, that's my question. So I'm gonna give him some time to answer that, and then we're gonna go back to the question at hand about service calls. Oh, we got about 10 minutes. So you know what? Well, we got 9 minutes now, but I'm gonna extend this stream a little wider, a little more time. So because we never got to really, I was focused on his questions, and it's great and all, and I like to stick around for that. But going back now to service. Um, Service departments when I leave. I think we were talking about before that. Oh, knowing your theory, because how important it is if you are in service department and you just prefer being in the van, driving from home to home, or doing estimates. It's always good to know your theory too, because that comes into play big time. It will help you even when you're doing an estimate as well. Um, Now, I have never done an estimate where I have to do load calculations. We call it load sheets. Basically, we go around, we figure out, okay, how much of a load will. Uh-oh, encoding overloaded. Consider turning down settings. That's weird. I want to know why OBS is doing that. That's a little odd. Anyway, um, yeah, so it's just basically you're going to a property where someone's saying, hey, a client says, well, I want an estimate of a load, how much a load can, my apartment take because I want to do a service upgrade. So you basically go around the house or what they currently have, what they're currently running, like a blender, a toaster, an oven, refrigerator. You try to get as much information as you can, and you just jot it down to your notepads and your notes, and figure out how much of a load, like what else do they want to install, like a sound system, or maybe they want to put a studio, because they really want to like upgrade their service to maybe for more power. They want more amps and so forth. So that I have not come across yet. Um, and to be honest with you guys, I'm not really good with math. But I'm steadily getting into it again, relearning arithmetic. Like I know the basics, math, subtract, divide, but I really didn't never like math. But math is important, especially in this trade. You need to know it. It'll get you even further in your career, um, because math plays a very big part in your life at this point. Now, I'm not saying like scientific mathematics, like Pythagorean theorem. It does come into play in load calculations and figuring out branch circuits, and doing all that. It does come into play, but um, you're also when you're also doing pipe bending work, math, a little bit of math comes into play. You gotta add or subtract, gain or or take up. It does, like I said, it does come into play, and it's a definitely must to have. So if you're the type that does not like doing math at all, you're just you know do it by heck. You can be a guy who doesn't do math, and you can just rely on a calculator. That's fine. But sometimes you just need a quick answer, so you gotta have to go through the repetition of math and have all the answers, like come up with the answers in your head really quickly than a calculator. Uh, but in this trade you can use a calculator. It's reliable. You'll get your answers quickly. It'll help you in your estimates. So I like to carry, I use my phone for calculations, but it's best to invest in a separate calculator, like a scientific calculator and stuff, because scientific calculators can come into play when you're doing estimations and stuff and so forth. Um, Bruce Lee says, I'm definitely staying in. I want to make a career out of this. I'm hoping to have my own company one day after I'm skilled and licensed. I decided to switch because after watching electricians on the job, I went and starting researching and watching YouTube videos. It seemed fun and very fulfilling. I never really cared much for carpentry. It was just a family business. It introduced me to the trades. Well, that's awesome, dude. See, there we go. That's a very good explanation of why he switched trades. And that's great, man. I really appreciate that. It is a step it's a step up that it's a big move as well when you're switching over, because now not only you're taking a pay cut, which that happens, you're also have to relearn everything. Like you have to relearn a new trade rather than the old one you normally have done. um but dude, yeah, it's a big step. Lawnmower says you still need to know math to do calculations correctly. That is correct. Lawnmower, you have that done. You have that. You're absolutely right. You have it done right there. Um, yeah, dude. Bruce, I just want to say, dude, that's great. You switch careers. You switch to trade. Now it's gonna be the first year is not gonna be easy. I'm fair warning. It's not gonna be easy. I had a very tough time my first year as an apprentice, but during those tough times, I have come a long way to learn more about myself. Um, when I was much young, I was 25 when I first started electrical trade, and I was still kind of figuring things out at that age. And I come to learn about really taking responsibilities more, because when you're in your 20s, like you're not you're dumb. All right, you're dumb. I'm gonna be honest. You're dumb. You're still a kid. You're still figuring stuff out. And growing up in the electrical trade, you have you work with mechanics, you work with a foreman or a journeyman who's gonna want to build you from the ground up. They're basically in this trade. It's gonna teach you how to be more responsible adult, responsible more in money, responsible more on your, you know, on being on time, responsible on a lot of other things. Paying your bills, just being an adult. Because I've worked with mechanics that were really tough on me, journeymen who were really tough on me, and they were doing that because they wanted to teach me the trade. They were doing that to build me up into a, a an adult. And I did that. I learned, and yeah, there were times where I would fight a mechanic like verbally, and but I was young and stupid. And that mechanic would try to tell me, listen, this is how it is. They're gonna tell you they're gonna call you out on things, on your own bull crap. They're gonna, you know don't even try at a young age, don't even try as an apprentice to sell something that they're not gonna fall for, that you're even trying to sell that you're believing on. Um but yeah, man, this is great, but like I said, you have a long road ahead of you, and I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna be worth it. After your first year, you should know the basics. You should know how proper hand tools, how to do proper installations. You should know how to use a hand screwdriver, a slotted screwdriver on receptacle outlets. You never use a Phillips. You never use an impact driver when you're working on on receptacle outlets. I mean, I've caught myself using them only to mount them, never to terminate. But mounting, yeah, I've mounted a couple of screwdrivers with an impact, but but I've seen a lot of guys who use an impact driver terminating their wires, and it's not good because you're not getting a very good torque or torque setting on that terminal. When it comes down to tightening your terminations, use a slotted screwdriver always on devices, switches, outlets, contactors when you're terminating wires, or terminating devices. Not terminating wires, but terminating devices. You really want to get a very good mechanical and electrical connection. Okay. Another good advice here is, there's a saying that I heard when I was in trade school. A very good instructor told me, or told us really, but told me, and said to me that, have respect the electrical, respect electricity, okay, because it does not have respect for you. And what I mean that is that if you are not careful in this electrical in this trade, you could get yourself killed. This is a very dangerous trade. A lot of people may not think so. Guys who also been in the field, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, they're lax and comfortable about working live. I wouldn't recommend working live. You're not supposed to work live. But if you have to, and there's no means of turning off power because equipment and so forth, there are procedures of working live that you need to learn and understand. Okay. If you want to learn more about that, Bruce, you should go check out Electrician U, or you can check out my other previous live streams about electrical safety and job training and so forth. Check him out, and you can also check out the YouTube channels like Electrician U, Dustin Stelzer. He's got an awesome channel. Like I love that guy's channel. I love when he makes these shorts and stuff. He's got great information that you want to check out. You could also check out Mike Holt. Check out MikeHolt.com. He also has videos on his books and electrical theory and electrical fundamentals. Very knowledgeable stuff. You can also check out, who else can you check out? Oh, if you're in residential, here's a perfect one for you. If you want to learn more about residential work, but you may not want to specialize in knob and tube wiring because that's really hard, but I'd like to, work with it. Check out Donald Miller Electrical Service on YouTube, man. He's got some great stuff, great information. I feel like when I watch his channel as well, it speaks truth. Donald Miller himself, who runs his own company called Donald Miller Electrical Service, he's located in Pennsylvania, and he's like, we're neighbors. We're basically right next to each other, the states. I live in New York, he lives in PA, so we're right there. He runs his own business. When he tells a story about how he became a mechanic, how he came up in the electrical trade, it's really interesting, and I would suggest you check out his channel. He's got some really good advice, and he speaks truth about it too. A lot of guys don't like to hear what he has to say. A lot of apprentices who are starting off don't like to hear what he has to say, or helpers, but he speaks truth because I have come across helpers or apprentices who come in this trade, guys who are green and just flat out think they're know-it-alls, and it becomes a problem. They end up fighting their apprenticeship, and it's not good. So Bruce Lee says, I'm 21. With some things my boss makes me use the screwdrivers. He says I'm not ready to use impacts yet. Being good with tools definitely helped me get in, especially without trade school. I'm going to tell you something right now, Bruce. Your boss is he knows what he's talking about. Don't ever use an impact driver when terminating devices. Okay, you only use an impact driver when you're mounting boxes, putting in drywall screws, or you're mounting electrical panels and boxes, or using them on quarter 20 screws and mounting them on anchors and so forth. That's the only time you could ever use it. I don't even advise using an impact driver on connectors, like conduit. Like when you're running conduit, Don't use it. It's not really good. I've used it. I came to find out on my own as well because no one ever told me not to use an impact driver when you're setting like set screw connectors and stuff. I found out over time, a short time using impact driver on electrical installations like on conduit, that you end up stripping the screw or busting the screw through the conduit. It's not good to use an impact driver. Okay. The only time it's actually good when it depends on the size of the conduit. Like if you're working on 4-inch stuff, maybe. But I learned to now switch from impact from using a drill to hand tool. And the reason why, and this is a question I get this all the time, and you're probably wondering why as well. One, it really does build forearm strength. Okay, when you're turning that screw, you're torquing it in, you're gonna start feeling burning sensation in your forearm. It really does give you a workout, and it's good, and it's a good thing because it also makes your mind believes that you're going through a stressful install. Like it's not like your mind thinks, but it's like good practice. Like if you're in an installation, a job is really like stressful and it's hard, you're making all these crazy installations, mounting boxes, going through like tight areas, and you're just like using your hand tools. It's good practice in a sense when you're in a stressful job environment. Okay, so you want to kind of build that forearm strength. It's really good for you, believe it or not. Um, I mean, I have a skinny arm. I don't use, I use my hands a lot in the trade. It doesn't look like I build forearm strength, but I have over time and learned to like really torque things down. Um, so it's good. It's good that your boss tells you that because he's exactly right. He has the experience. Listen to him. He's a journeyman himself. So yeah, I would suggest for you, Bruce, to check out Donald Miller Electrical Services. He's got some really good advice, and it can help you out in the long run as well. All right. Now another question is, which do you prefer? Do you prefer residential, or would you want to try or prefer commercial trade? Okay, because there is a preference when it comes to the electrical trade. A lot of guys, especially here in New York City, a lot of electricians prefer the commercial because one, you get a lot more work. There's plenty of work in commercial trade, in the commercial to the trade, and it's they find it to be a lot easier because in residential, you're working someone's home that's already finished work, and you have to cut holes. You gotta run snake wires through walls. Then comes the part where either the contractor wants his guys to do whether he wants you to do the patchwork or he has to hire someone else, a subcontractor, to come in and do the patchwork, which costs money. True, but a lot of guys in this trade prefer commercial, to be honest. And the reason for that is because it's new construction. It's just ground up work. They don't have to worry about cutting holes in walls because, everything's already built up and they don't got to worry about it. All you got to do is just pull the wire in, terminate, and you're done. Another thing about it also is not only is it just much easier, you don't got to worry about it all said and done, but you also have to be very mindful how you're installing the equipment. You have to be up to code, and that's another thing about this industry. You're in New York City, a lot of commercial work being done here usually is not up to code, and there are inspectors that come in and they find violations here and there, and you know it could be very difficult. You can look really, really silly or really dumb. I mean, if you don't know your code, you don't know code or theory, you can be sort of, and you're not educated, and you just basically, you got guys who've been here 20 years, and there are guys who are educated mechanically wise, like they just do it. They learn how to put up panels, and they know maybe a little bit of code, but they're more old school. They're like, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna mount it here because it's okay. I've done this many times before, and blah blah blah. But then there's some installs, you got guys on the site and they do that, and then, well, they'll realize they come across where they put up a panel and the inspector comes and says, well, that's not up to code anymore. They change things. The code changes every 3 years. Okay, the National Electrical Code, it's why every 3 years it's a different year, and they update things. They update the code. They update standards and so forth. And the reason is that because it's for safety reasons. The National Electrical Code is a standard of you know protecting property, safety of protecting property and injury to others, um, and preventing fires, preventing people getting killed, or after an install is done or during an install. So you want to have as much knowledge as possible and work with a really good mechanic. This is why I say work with a mechanic that you feel is that has all the right mentalities. Like he's coming in to work early. He's coming in, you know, putting his tool belt on. He's doing the job. He's actually taking the time and showing you, hey, this is why we do it the way we do it. This has to be up to code. If he's code knowledgeable and knows his theory, and you see that, you will want to stick with that guy, that mechanic, because you're gonna learn so much from that mechanic. Eventually, another mechanic or journeyman will see that and say, "Hey, kid, come with me. You're gonna be under my wing now," because he's gonna see that you're listening to everything that the mechanic's saying, and he knows that you want to learn it. So show a lot of show be hungry in this trade. That's what I'm saying. Show that you care about this trade. That you're showing a passion that you really want this. You really want it. You want it to be yours. You want what the mechanic or journeyman has. You want what your boss has. Your boss has a business, and there's a reason why he has a business, because he loves the trade. He has a passion for it. He wants to make. He not only wants to make money. He enjoys what he does. Okay, sure, it has its hard moments. It's always hard, but there's a reason. It's always a challenge. So if you are coming in this trade just to collect a paycheck, then you're gonna be a miserable SOB. I mean, you're not gonna learn as much. You're there for a paycheck. You're there to do whatever it is that you want to do after work and so forth. Okay. Um, Bruce Lean says, "My boss is a very knowledgeable guy. He's hard to get along with sometimes, but I really appreciate his expertise and I respect him. I enjoy residential so far. I don't have any commercial experience. I was in commercial with my uncle doing the carpentry stuff. I was out of town a lot, having to sleep in motels all week. I'd like to try commercial one day, but I've heard it's best to start with resident." It is actually, believe it or not, very it's very good to start residential, and I'm going to tell you why it is. You're going to learn a lot more when it comes to residential. You're going to learn how to be on time. Okay, for one. Always be on time. Be 10 minutes early. Me, when I started the trade, generally at HVAC, going to school for it and everything, I would always make sure I'm on time. I don't even care. Like, I would show up to the job an hour early. Okay, dude? It's always good to be like at least an hour early. I know a lot of guys complain, "Well, why are you gonna be an hour early? You should get paid because you showed up to." No, I'm there an hour early so I can ask other guys in this trade that I'm in questions. What do you know about this? What do you know about that? That's an opportunity you have within that hour to understand what it is to be in this trade. Okay, ask questions. Don't be afraid, even if you think it's stupid. Don't be afraid to ask it. Okay. Um, it'll even show you etiquette, like showing up to a customer's home with respect. Okay, show a customer respect, because it's what you would want in return. Respect, because if you show a customer respect, the customer will respect you as a tradesman. He'll respect the work that you do. He'll respect that you come in every day to take care of what's needed to be done. Okay. um and they're going to also respect the fact that you come in with that respect in mind towards them, that they're going to say, "You know what? I want to work with this guy more. I would prefer this guy works in my home. I want to tell his boss, hey, I like this guy. I'd like him to come over and do more work for me. When I call on you guys, I want him. I want him here to work in my house." Okay? Because that brings a really good relationship between the customer and the the contractor. It brings them together and brings that it's a beautiful thing, because it's not only it just brings more business, and it does. You're going to show them that you mean business. You're there to take care of their needs in their home, like fixing light fixtures, devices, and so forth. They can trust you in their own home. Okay, it builds a very good relationship, all in all. Okay, and not only that, it does, yes, spreads the word. They'll go and tell their friends, their family members, other, like, their coworkers, and say, hey, I got a great electrician that comes over. I work with an electrical contractor that does, has a service contract with. They're really good. I got a guy you mostly work with in that company. Give him a call. You're gonna realize, like, in this trade, you're gonna see more and more and more different kinds of people in this trade. Like, you're gonna work with very smart people. You're gonna work with some not so smart, but they're really nice to you. They're really kind to you. They trust you to come in. You can even answer questions. You're able as you go in this trade, the more you learn, the more you earn. And then the more you learn, you can also educate the customer too. Let them know, hey, this is your outlet's like all melted. This is the reason why. This is unsafe. You may come across homes where it's just knob and tube, and tell them, hey, look, um, well, this is, as you become, learning more in this field, and and once you reach a mechanic, you're gonna come and say, hey, this is, it's not safe. This, you want to recommend the customer for an upgrade or a safer way of doing things. Because you're informing them of the dangers of what they have in their home that can cause fires and cause, life or death situations as well. And you want to let them know about that. There are a lot of electricians, there's some electricians out there, mechanics, so-called mechanics, who show up to a person's home with C-Nop and 2 wire and say, oh, it's okay. And then the next thing you know, they work on it, they leave, get paid, and then the next day they're in the news that their house burnt down because of an electrical issue. But then they don't, they can't be found because they don't leave a number, they don't leave any information about them, because they just go in and collect the. And I hate that electricians, so-called electricians, go out there and take advantage. And you're gonna come across some really messed up dudes, mechanics that are like take advantage of customers, and they're not licensed, and they'll do whatever. They'll hide certain things in the walls, and that can be an electrical hazard and cause their house to burn down. So it's a lot of things you're going to learn in this field, dude. You're going to learn a lot. All day long when I'm not working, I'm on YouTube watching other people work. My girlfriend doesn't understand, but I love this stuff. Working is my hobby. I got to tell you, she doesn't understand. My fiance, I've been with her. We've been together for 8 years. Okay. And there were times where, and I think there still is times now even, that she gets really frustrated when I'm at home and I'm working on stuff that deals with my job. Currently, right now, I am working on their new electrical test when they hire new guys in the company. And so far, I finished the electrical helpers exam. Um, they needed it. They needed a change. They needed input on new stuff. So right now, I finished on that, and I'm currently working on a first year and second year apprentice test. And the reason for that is because they just needed, like I said, they just needed upgrade. They wanted someone in the field to give them input, and they never had that. So I voluntarily asked to do this, and I emailed them that, and I guess they're going to use it. They were very grateful, and I told them, hey, I'm working on a first year, second year, then first year mechanic, second year junior mechanic, first year, second year mechanic, and then a journeyman, and then so forth, and hopefully a foreman. And that's all coming up. That's the test. It's basically multiple choice. I don't like when it's handwritten. I like to give a choice, a multiple choice, and see. It makes it easier on the eyes, makes it easier on the test taker. And I know some people aren't really good test takers. But yeah, my fiance would get upset and say, "Oh, spend time with me." Listen, women are smart. They're very smart, but sometimes you know, they may not understand when it comes to being with a tradesman. They may not understand why they do what they do, or and we do what we do to make not only money but then improve our lives. Okay, I love what I do. Okay, I'm gonna say it like that. I'm gonna say I love what I do. I love being informative. Um, Mm, and it was difficult for my fiance. Well, at the time we were dating, like, oh, why are you so focused on, it's a career. I'm building a career. I'm trying to climb my way up to make a better life for us, and I enjoy it. I really do. And the more I mean, I'm learning things. I'm learning something new every day in this trade. What tradesman doesn't? You're gonna be learning new things every day, guys. Okay, especially you, Bruce. Um, do you do any low voltage stuff? My boss says we will do it from time to time, but I haven't got to explain. Actually, I do. Um, Data, voice, and well, the company I work for, Leader Electric, we do voice, data, audio, and video. I do have experience in voice, data, and audio, um, and video. I mean, I hook up my own surveillance cameras. I I've done data wiring, using punch down tools, terminating, installing patch panels for internet Ethernet cable wiring and voice and data. It's fun too, and not a lot of guys like to do low voltage and data stuff. But as an electrician, and I'm gonna say this because there is a low voltage trade when they just specifically do low. All right, there we go. That was weird. Why did it do that? Real weird. I can hear myself again. Okay. Okay, is that better, guys? Because I hope you guys can hear me now. You should be able to. I should hear myself. Okay, that's better. Yeah, I can hear myself. So, there we go, Bruce. Okay, so low voltage. Yes, when you become an electrician, learn low voltage. Learn as much as you can low voltage. You want to be an all-around electrician. Okay. Um, I like doing low voltage. I would love to do even more 277 systems, 480, 277, like higher voltage electricity. I want to learn even industrial electrical work. Just being all that type of electrician, like knowing all that is really good. It puts more experience on your belt. Um, and a lot of guys, like I said, a lot of guys that I know don't like doing voltage, but I feel as an electrician, you should know it. You should like it's a plus because then your boss, if you have the experience in low voltage as well as in the electrical trade, your boss will really look to you and say, "Hey, I got a guy who." And you should also learn fire alarm. Fire alarm is so essential for an electrician as well. Knowing the install, knowing how to do the installs, what is the codes, standards, um, and if you also you should study fire alarm, uh, taking the fire alarms to I think they call it fire guard. There's different types of fire guards. There's one for like welding and soldering, and there's one for fire alarm systems. Learning how to program them. When you install them, you can learn how to program it. qualification, you will definitely make a lot more money in this trade. You'll be more valuable, and you would know, you will have the right to even, you even have the certification and qualifications to install and program it. Now, I don't have the qualification to program a fire alarm systems. I how to install them. Um, so it's good to learn the installation first and then learn how to program, because if you take the test, you have it, like I said, you become even more valuable, you make more money, and you'll just, I feel, just enjoy it. You'll enjoy that you'll be known as the go-to guy, the all-around knowledgeable guy. You're going to come across in your trade, my friend, there you'll be into the electrical theory and the code, and you're going to have guys who make, okay, I had guys make fun of me when I was in my 20s, my mid 20s, and so forth, and they would make fun of me and say, "Oh, you're Mister Know It All, who's the code guy?" I still get it today. Once in a while, have a guy say, "Oh, he thinks he knows," and I'm like, I don't know it all. I didn't claim. I hate when guys tell me, "Oh, you're a know it all." This and that. I'm like, listen, I never claimed I knew it all. I don't know it all. I just educate myself. Try to educate myself. You know. And sometimes they won't like that. You'll come across guys who don't like that because they felt that they weren't, I look at it as a sign of jealousy, but yet I won't take it to an offense. I look at it more as a compliment and say, hey, thanks. At least I'm trying to get somewhere in this trade. I'm trying to get up there. They're going to look at you differently and say, oh, you took a misshot. The reason why they're like that, because would they either never took the time to learn theory and code, or they just don't care to pick up a book. They feel like it's a waste of time. All you need to do is know how to do the install, run the wires, etc. But it's more to it. I had a guy who I used to work with, who was also a foreman too and a mechanic, and he, at times, and we got along, but at times he felt like certain things I learned on my own, like Mike Holt, for instance. This guy is amazing. I like his books. I would tell him, hey, I would tell him things that I know in theory, and especially grounding and bonding. Like when I told him things I learned about grounding and bonding, he just looked at me and he's like, well, no, that's not true. Grounding, when you're grounding, electricity goes straight to the earth. Actually, that's been proven that's not true either, because if you're bringing voltage straight to the soil, to the earth, you're actually creating a voltage gradient, which is very dangerous, and you can kill someone. The the reason why we ground is to create a ground fault current path, from the point of the fault back to the source. Electricity, when you're dealing with electricity voltage is, electrons are, trying to find their way back to the source, basically going back to wherever it came from. It's not going to ground. If you're a little confused about that, I suggest you read up more about grounding and bonding, and you'll, Google it, and you'll see one of Mike Holt's, graphics, and he explains to you. So I never let it. I never literally. Oh, just about to say that too, because he's just typing it in. Don't let it bother you. You're a lot farther in this trade than they are. They don't care enough to try and learn all they can, which is true. And I was gonna say that it did before in the past. It doesn't bother me anymore. But once in a while, you'll come across like a very stubborn mechanic. When you get to the point where I'm at, you'll come across some stubborn mechanics, and the mechanics that have learned the trade differently. And there are a lot of mechanics out there here, especially in New York City, I feel, that still believe that grounding electrons are finding the least path of resistance, and it's actually been proven as a myth. They still think that way, especially the old school ones. And you can't really teach, there's a saying, you can't teach a dog new tricks, an old dog new tricks. But if you come across a dog that's the age as you are, or around the same age as you are, they'll end up fighting it. Sometimes they'll fight it. They'll be very stubborn and say, "Well, that's not what I was taught." And that's not. Well, listen, I was taught differently. I looked more into it. You tell me, you do your research. You educated yourself. But if they feel like that's, oh no, no, that's wrong, you're wrong, well, let them, that's their opinion, let them be, and they'll eventually, over time, they will see the truth, and they'll learn the facts over time and say, whoa, whoever told me this was right. That you come across that, and you come across even some foremans, and I worked with one or two foremans that got a little too arrogant to a point where they would not listen. Like if they told you one thing and you're like, hey, that's not what I was taught, and they and you would explain to them, they'll look at you like you're crazy. But it is what it is. You'll come across situations where on an install, you'll tell them, hey, I don't think you should do that. And they're saying, well, you don't know any better. I've been doing this for years and blah, blah, blah. This is how I always done it. And something happens. Someone gets shocked or whatever. And then it's like, oh, crap. They'll look at you and say, yeah, I guess you were right. Or some of them don't. They'll just be so into their own personal ego, their own pride. A lot of electricians are very prideful. Me, for one, I'm not. I don't. I have pride, but I don't show that I'm prideful. Um, if I say something that I learned either through my cult or from other electricians or well-around electricians who've done their research and they physically done certain experiments, I'll say, okay, and then someone else tells me different. I'm like, well, okay, let me just weigh in the pros and cons here with it. I don't argue with it, and it is what it is. It's what the it. People have different opinions. People have different opinions, and they're entitled to their opinion. But when it comes to facts, and you look it up and you do your research, it's best to not. It's best to go with the facts. It's because it's been, with grounding and bonding, especially grounding. You know, the myths of, electrons are finding the least path of resistance has been now proven false. It's been proven a myth, and I know probably some electricians now, they're probably watching this and saying, what the heck are you talking about? Like, is he still talking about that? That's not true. Well, do your research, go online, make a few phone calls. You're going to be told, hey, that's been proven wrong. It's been experimented. Like, this guy Mike Holt, he's actually done it. He's actually put in a ground rod into the soil, put a wire, line voltage 120 to that soil, and then the neutral wire back into a neutral terminal, and pretty much you have voltage in the soil, in the ground. And it creates a voltage gradient. And it expands even more because the soil, the earth itself, has so many parallel paths that it can take. So if someone was standing on a soil with a ground rod that's energized, and you have voltage in the ground, that person standing on the ground and touches something metallic or something that's that acts as a return back to the utility, they could die. So that's why grounding and bonding, Bruce, is very important that you learn grounding and bonding as well as your electrical theory, because grounding and bonding has been a lot of people being killed because of people not grounding and bonding the equipment, grounding the equipment correctly. So keep in mind on that. All right. But yeah, man, going back to service. Wow, I strayed so far from the topic of service, and I'm so sorry, guys. You guys came in here like, hey, we want to talk about service calls. But for Bruce, let me just cut it. Let me just get to that point where education is key. The more you learn, the more you earn. You're 5 months in, start learning theory. Start learning how to, on your own, learn theory, and learn a little about conduit bending. Because you may not do it a lot in residential, but if you decide to switch over commercial, it's very instrumental to learn it in commercial. You're gonna do, if you decide to switch over to commercial, you're gonna do a lot of conduit bending, a lot of pipe bending. So it's essential. You even in residential, even you don't deal with a lot of EMT or PVC or aluminum or rigid pipe. It's always good to learn your pipe bending, how to conduit bends. Learn that as well. Learn as much as you can, my man. um, because it goes a long way, and you will really, if you educate yourself and know the methods and standards of installations, and you know you're doing better in hands-on mechanical work and theory, you're gonna go so far in this trade, man. You're gonna go like the sky's the limit, bro. You're gonna go so far, and I wish you a lot, my friend. Your topic, but great conversation. Thanks for all the advice. Thank you for being here, dude. I'm sorry if I like ranted. I was rambling. Sorry about that, buddy. But good luck. Like I said, if your boss can't invest in your education, invest it in yourself. Okay. Uh, Learn as much as you can. Listen to your mechanics. Um, Basically, do as you're told, and you'll be all right. You know. So, and show that you're hungry for this trade. Show you really want this. All right, buddy. Best of luck to you, and congratulations on switching over to the electrical trade as well. So, good luck, buddy, and keep in touch. If you got any questions, you can email me. My email is in the description box down. Check out also any of you apprentices out there. You want more information? Check out the links. I let 3 links in the description box down below my email, where you'll see mycode.com, the nfpa.org, and the IEEE. Okay, those are really good 3 main sites that you want to be more educated on code and a little bit on theory. Check them out. So back to service calls. Okay. Those of you, like I said, go switching over to service calls. It's good to switch over to service calls as well. Service calls are great to do. A lot of guys don't like to do it because you have to go through cutting people's walls and cleaning up, and it is a pain, but it's good. It's good experience. It's great experience because the more you do it, the more better you are. You'll become even better at snaking wires and walls and fishing wires, and um, you're also going to be very good at customer service. I'm telling you, you're going to build character. You're going to build a relationship with customers as well, educate the customer. Um, you know, you're going to learn sometimes, not all the time, sell a product, which technically we're not really supposed to be selling products like that, but we can always recommend a product that is good, like Lutron or RF switches or Levingtons. There's other manufacturers that you want to like. Maybe the customer wants something that's affordable and not expensive. You can tell them, hey, here are some products that manufacturers affordable and not expensive and good. That can help you out. And sometimes we can become a salesman. Sometimes, not all the time, but we prefer not to try to sell product. Basically, we're trying to sell a service, okay, a need, a service, a need for the customer. um, you know Let them know also, like every customer like I go to when I do service calls, I leave like 2 business cards. And I know that when they sign the service ticket and stuff, you leave them a copy. That's the company logo, the company name, address, and so forth. But it's also good to have the company business cards, like calling cards. Like here's our business cards. I leave 2, sometimes 3 with a customer if they want to give the third one out to a neighbor and so forth. It's always good to, you know, referrals and stuff like that. Build up the clientele with the company. Be an asset to them as well in that. Um, and like I said, education goes a long way. Learn your theory, learn code, because that comes into play when you're in the service department. You know, Also be reliable. Um, if you're with a company that does 24-hour service and does emergency service, and you're the type that wants to constantly just be there, be the reliable guy, do it. Um, Guy that, hey, you get a phone call, you're at home, and you're available. You're not doing anything. You're like, hey, I'm available for any emergency calls and whatsoever. You know, Go ahead and do it. Now, there will be times where some companies don't invite you to take a van home, or especially here in New York City. Now, New York City, I know it's probably different from other states, but in New York City, it's tough to bring a company vehicle home because they have commercial. Fair warning here. If you are now like a junior mechanic working the way you become a mechanic, and you're in the service department, and your company offers you a van to take home. It all depends. If you're living in the five borough, it all depends where you live now. A lot of areas in New York City, especially within the five boroughs, public parking in the streets does not allow overnight commercial parking. You get a ticket, and that ticket can become another ticket, and then that ticket becomes a tow. Basically, they'll tow the vehicle away, and then you have to look for where it was towed. And it also costs the company money. I've learned recently that my area is HOA, and they don't allow HOAs never allow commercial vehicles on their properties. If you own a home and it's an HOA neighborhood and you have a driveway, they still will never allow you to park the commercial vehicle in your own driveway, even if it's your own home. Um, so yeah, that's no, I really appreciate it. I'll definitely stop back next. Oh, I appreciate that, Bruce Lean. Have a good one, buddy. Thank you for coming in, and yeah, visit anytime on the stream. Um, so yeah, when it comes out to HOA neighborhoods in New York City, most of the time the HOAs they don't want you to park any commercial vehicles, even if it's on your own driveway. Now, if you have a garage big enough to park your own commercial vehicle in, it that's different. You can close the garage, and they don't even have to know, um, because they can't, going to tow it if it's locked up in the garage in an HOA neighborhood. That's totally different as long as they're not within sight. But if you're parking it outside in your driveway and someone complains, and yeah, they'll tow it. They have the right to tow it because it's on their rules and policy. So best way, it's like if you live in an HOA neighborhood and you have a large garage in that HOA neighborhood or community, depending on where you live, like either Staten Island, Parkchester, or something like that, or somewhere out in Queens, and you have a big garage and you can commercial van, company van. I guess you can do that. Close as long as they don't see it. You just close the door and that's it. But if you plan on parking in the street or in the roadway or outside your driveway, they can give notices and tell you, hey, you can't park it here. If you keep getting the notices and you don't care, they'll tow it away. So that'll come out of, depending on the company will have to pay for the tow. And if they're gonna keep doing that, they're gonna eventually get upset and say, "Hey, you're gonna have to pay for taking it out." You don't want that. You don't want to have problems with the company because you live in an HOA neighborhood. Now, if you don't live in an HOA neighborhood and you can just park it right on your driveway, that's fine. It can't get towed if it's not HOA and it's but you can't park it on side streets. That's like public parking street. You can't park it overnight. Commercial vehicles. Um, I guess there is also some exceptions. You might have to get like a city permit, whether like if your company does emergency call, or if they have contracts with city official buildings and stuff like that. You can get like a special permit to park overnight on public side streets as long as the vehicle has like an emergency vehicle or emergency contact number. You have to get like special permits or something like that to park overnight. But if you have a home, you own a home, it's not HOA, and you own it yourself. You have a driveway, you have a garage, whatever. You can park it on the driveway, and you don't have to worry about it getting. Um, so always bear in mind that. Now, what I'm currently doing now is that I don't have the van here at home with me because I have those notices, and apparently I had to take it to a garage, an overnight parking garage, a monthly parking. I have it parked out in Brooklyn over the bridge. But it's like about 15 minutes away, so it's not really that much of a hassle for me. But if you can find an overnight parking, um, a place where they do overnight parking, outdoor or indoor, preferably because most indoor monthly parkings don't take in like trucks depending on the height. If you have stuff like ladders and stuff on top, they won't take it because of the height issue. But if it's outdoor and you can work something out with either a gas station that does out rent parking spaces or does monthly parking, that's perfect. Shop around for rates. You know what I'm saying? Because it does cost money. Nothing's free. You know, unless you maybe know, or if you have a hook, like a connection with some, like a buddy of yours who has a big driveway, and you know he says, hey, yeah, you can park in my driveway, dude. Like, you know, or a family member, that's fine. Work something out. That's even better. You know, you don't have, the company doesn't have to pay for parking. You don't have to pay for parking. Um, so you know, always there's always ways in New York City you can find parking, but when push comes to shove, you'll eventually have to find like an overnight parking. Either you pay out of pocket or the company does. But at my job where I live, they pay for the monthly parking, and it's actually not that bad, the monthly parking. So um, and you know they're happy with the price. But Manhattan's very expensive, especially when it comes to monthly parking. Very expensive. Like, depending on the vehicle, if it's a commercial vehicle and just a regular passenger minivan type vehicle, whatever. But if it's like commercial plates, they definitely have like a different rate. It's like much higher. So if you're living in, like I said, city areas, depending on also where you live, if you live like in city limits, or if they want to do overnight parking, you may have to park in your driveway, or if you live in HOA, if you have a big enough garage, you can park it in there, and so forth. So you kind of get, I mean, obviously you guys get what I mean, but um, it adds up too, because then the company for it. But if you can find someone, okay, okay. Sorry about that. I actually, you know what happened? I touched the wire. I touched this guy right here by accident, and I just heard myself for a quick second, and it just shut off. So I have to be very careful not to touch that area. Um, so yeah, if you know somebody, it's very good to, if you know like a family member or a friend who's willing to let you, hey, drive my parking, my driveway. I don't mind, and and they're not HOA, they don't live in HOA in the community, then you're good. You just saved yourself some money, or you saved the company some money, And by doing that, you can actually the company actually build trust in you on the vehicle. And when it comes to commercial vehicles, like a company vehicle, service vehicle, you really want your employer to trust you with that vehicle. Um, but then there's also a factor too. Sometimes the company won't let you take the vehicle home because in New York City it's very hard to find parking. They won't let you take the vehicle home, so you had to bring the vehicle back into their own lot, or a parking lot, a monthly parking place where they do business with, and you have to drop it off at a different location and then go home from there. I did that when I first started off with Leader Electric. I was doing that. The shop was next to the parking lot where they paid monthly parking for their vehicles, and I would have to go from all the way from, when I was living in Brooklyn, I would go from Brooklyn and then go to Manhattan and pick it up and then do service calls and then drive it back and go home. Sometimes I work late and I would still have to drive the vehicle back to Harlem and then go home, because where I lived in Brooklyn there was no overnight parking. It is what it is. Um, so now that I live in Staten Island, I got to take the van home. My situation is a little different. I got to take it home, didn't realize we were HOA, and then it was like, oh crap, I got a notification, so we got to figure something out. And I did pretty quick. But now the place I park the company vehicle is still, it's right over the bridge, 15 minutes away. I don't have a problem with picking it up and whatever. But I did get called to do an emergency call today, but I was running errands today, and you know, pretty busy day today. I would have liked to, but I couldn't fit it in my schedule, and plus I have to do my show. I got to do with you guys too. I got to do some other stuff today too. I got to go. I have to go out and I got to do all these exams. So making the company exam is it's pretty tough. And I volunteered to do so. I really like, I'm investing my time with the company too. Um, you know, oh wow, this is new. Hello, that's a option. I just figured something out on my computer. But like I said, um, when you're also doing, you're working in the service department of your company. You're driving around a van. Look presentable. Okay, look presentable. I mean, like you got to look clean shaven. If you got a beard, trim the beard. Um, if you got tattoos, try to hide as much as possible with your tattoos because I've seen when I in my HVAC days, I used to see guys with tattoos, and you know they won't last. They don't last. They have tattoos up to like their neck and their ear and their face, and it's like, whoa, I get it. That's your thing, but the customers, their customers look at you and say, well, tattoos, he doesn't look very professional, and they don't want you in their house, and it's not a good look. So if you are getting a tattoo, limit your tattoos. Because in this industry, you have to look professional. We are a blue collar industry. We have to look professional. You know, to basically make to get as much customers as possible to do a service. And you want to make money. You want to make money. That's fine. Some guys have an interest just coming in this trade and make money. But like I say, you're gonna be a miserable sob if you're just coming here for a paycheck. But back to it. Look professional. Tuck in your shirt. Now I know this is a big thing. Tucking in a company t-shirt, a t-shirt or a button-down shirt. Tuck in the shirt. Look professional. Um, it says something about you. Tells the customer, wow, he's a professional. He's clean. He's polite. Knows what he's doing. They like to see that. They like a customer buys with their eyes at times. Like you ever hear that saying like buy with your eyes? Comb your hair, brush your hair, or tie it up in the knot. Ponytails, long hair. Try to if you got beard, long hair, and you're looking all scruffy looking. A lot of mechanics or journeymen. Oh, my light's out. Oh, battery's dead. There we go. I think it's dying. That's why. A lot of men who've been in these in this trade for years, they don't care. They'll just leave their beard and so forth, and they say, well, it shows a customer to have experience. Sometimes, believe it or not, the customer is really thinking like, wow, this guy doesn't know about his job. They feel like they don't trust you. They'll have a feeling about you. And then they don't want to go work with the company you work for. They don't want to call them back. They don't want to call you back. So you want to come and step into a customer's home and look good as your friend. You want to have a good impression on the customer. You know, um, you want them to call you back. You want that customer to call your employer back and say, "Hey, I want him to come back and do my home." Like he comes in professional, clean, very educated. Um, he's very informative. I have questions and this and that. You know, like I said, the customer buys with their eyes. They like to see a well clean, groomed contractor or service technician. Another thing, don't be rude. Don't be rude. I mean, I had worked alongside with guys service calls, and I'll be in my van, or if I'm like bringing tools in, and the customer asks the guy with me, like, oh well, ask them a question. Their speech, I'm not discriminative here when I say like don't try to sound like you're from the hood. I know that's guys from the hood. That's where they're comfortable, the way they talk and stuff like that. But I'm not trying to say, hey, talk white and this not talk professionally, look professional. You know, um, it says a lot about you to the customer. Um, Also, like, don't come in with shorts. Don't come in with slack. When you're coming in, dress with like khaki slacks or work pants, Dickies, Carhartts. Wear boots. Don't wear shoes on even on a service call. Even if service call like, oh well, I'm not gonna be on a job site. Wear boots. It says a lot about them. When they look at you, they're gonna look at, oh wow, he's dressed like a contractor. He's he knows what he's doing. Like that's what they see. They see that and they say, it looks like he knows what he's doing. He's all about this. He's all about the business. He's all about the trade. That's what a customer wants to see. He doesn't want to see you wearing tennis shoes around the house. He doesn't want to see you wearing just a white plain t-shirt with no company logo. You got to come in representing the company. If you don't, if you got a sweater on, it's cold. I get it. Sometimes you show up with customers on, it's cold. You got a jacket on. If your company provides IDs, wear the ID on you. Let them know you work for that company. Let them know who you are. You know, I mean, I've seen guys walk in, don't even like they'll just say, "Yeah, I'm an electrician." The customer will look like, you sure you work for who you say you work for?" And they're not sure, and they don't know who they're letting in the house. This is what I mean by be presentable. Look presentable. Make sure, like, if your company provides IDs, get that ID. Put it on your clip it on your jacket, or if you don't have a company shirt or anything, take that ID, clip it on you. Let them know who you are. You know, you don't want that type of impression where they're letting in somebody and then they're calling them like, "Oh, we just want to confirm. Like, is this the guy?" I've seen customers do that. Get on the phone, like, says he works for you. Is it true? Like, they freak out. They don't know. They don't know. You have nothing on you that represents and says you say who you are, that you work. You say who you work for. But they don't see it on you. They don't trust you. They right away off the bat, they're not gonna trust. So, you know, like I said, if your company doesn't provide shirts, ask to see if they can come up with some sort of ID for you when they come to a customer's home. Most of the time, companies will have shirts. Wear the shirts. Get 5 pairs. If you're working 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, get 5 pairs of shirts. Wear it when you go to the job. Wear it to your company. If you're wearing a hoodie, it's too cold. Wear the hoodie and wear the company shirt over it. If the company doesn't have hoodies, do that. Do what you can to represent the company you work for, because if you don't, I'm gonna tell you right now, you're gonna see a lot of you're gonna see a lot of times that you're not gonna be called in for certain, like, in other words, there's the slowdown on jobs. Okay, and when you and I hear this a lot too. That's another thing. Sometimes a company will slow down when they're slow on work is because either they're not they're losing kids, or if you are in the service department, you're not representing the company. They don't the client the company the customers will not call you back, and they'll tell other people, "Hey, don't call these guys. They're terrible. They come in, they don't even look the part. They don't dress the part. They don't care." Like, they tell people, they are literally telling people, "Hey, don't call these guys. They don't like." They're telling people not to call them. Okay, this is why work is slow, and a lot of mechanics as well. A lot of guys in this trade are not seeing the bigger picture. Okay, you are going into a customer's home and you are automatically advertising and representing that company. I'm gonna get a lot of like people tell me, "Oh, you're a company guy." No, if you want if you want work, you have to help advertise the company to get more work. The more you come in dressed the part, company logo, talking talking professionally to the customer, doing a good job, and leaving knowing you did a good job, giving them the card and say, "Hey, here, call us, refer us to your friends, your family." And if the customer sees that you got a clipboard, right? And you got all that in from the tickets, everything. Let them know. Make them feel like make them feel important. Make them feel important. Make them feel like that you want to give. You want to constantly go. You want to help them out. You're gonna be there for them. Go around passing the card and spreading the word. You don't do that. You're just going in, out, working. And you're like, okay, here, sign the paperwork. Okay, here's your receipt. All right, have a good day. They're gonna be like, okay, that was kind of. They're gonna say things about you, and you may not care, but in reality, what's gonna the effect of that is gonna cause a slowdown of work. They're not gonna refer the company to anyone else. I've seen a lot of guys do that. I hear a lot of guys do that. They don't really, I mean, put in your all. They don't put in their all, and it's why that when work slows down, you start thinking, whoa, this company. They'll say, oh, this company sucks. They don't work. Blah blah blah. I'm gonna work for someone else. Well, what happens when you work for someone else? And yeah, they're doing great, but then later down the road, they start to slow down. And you're in their service department. You're doing the same exact thing you did with the last company. Then you're gonna complain again. Well, well, there's a reason. You're not thinking outside or outside the box. You're thinking only for yourself, and not you're not thinking about, hey, what are they doing wrong? But in reality, is what is you doing wrong to cause the effect of jobs not coming in? You know, if you're working in the service department, also learn to help advertise the business. It may not be business, but you're also there to advertise and to do a service to the customer. Okay. The more you do this, give out cards, let them feel like they mean something. The customer feels important. Feel like they feel important. They will they will tell their friends and families. Okay. If it's all about knowing the business of the trade as well. It's like if you want to business, make your own business, you would want your guys to do the same, right? Think about it. You want to make money in this trade, you have to really put the customer first. You know, in a sense, you put the customer. Sometimes you have customers who are very rude. Listen, that's if there's a problem, listen, see to the customer, say, okay, what's the problem? How can I help? Or, you know, you want to speak to our service department and we now to make you feel at ease and so forth. Do that. Be professional. No matter how rude the customer is, stand your ground and be professional. Don't fight with the with the customer. You know, it makes the situation look even worse. It makes the company in their eyes look worse. You know what I'm saying? So it's very important when you're doing service calls, be professional, help advertise, get more clients, get more service calls, and you're gonna get a lot more work. And the company's gonna get a lot more work, and you're gonna make money, and they're gonna make money. Okay, this whole thing with like, oh, also the business with all the fight between the guys in the field and people in the office. That's another thing. You also got to work with the people in the office too. It comes hand in hand because you're all working together, and because at the end of the day, the profits are shared equally. You know, they have to be equally with everyone. Um, so yeah, you have to learn. Good Lord, have mercy with this light. Sorry guys, my light's dead, so I'm gonna have to go a little off here with no lights and a screen monitor and whatever. Um, so work with the office, because if you work with the office, you build a relationship with the office, and that way the company, the business, makes more money. You make more money. You get a raise. They get a raise. Everyone's happy. You know. Um, so you have to also look more, not only presentable with how you look, but how the company vehicle looks. Like if you're driving a company vehicle and it's all beat up, try to give it a wash. I know, like, sometimes the company doesn't really take care of the vehicles, and there's a reason. You know, company vehicles all beat up because they're struggling to get more clientele. So That's when you come in. You have to come in, look presentable, and tell them, hey, we're going to do you a service. We're going to do everything you can. That's why I say the more professional, the way you talk, the way you look, you know, the more customers will, and the more informed you are, the more they will eventually spread the word. And the more money the company makes, they'll get a new van, they'll get new vehicles, they'll maintain it better. This all comes in the trade as well, in business. So you're going to learn as you're in the service department, you're going to learn more about the business as well. All right. So, but we'll get into more also in the commercial and job site stuff like that. All right. Next topic. So, but actually, before I go to the next topic, let me end it with this. Um, so the things you should know is be well groomed, um, talk professionally, look professional, be very educated, answer questions to customers that they don't know the answer to. Know your theory, know your code, and also whatever you do, just be very patient with the customer or with the client. Okay. And advertise for the company. Mechanics I've worked with who I've come and gone in this trade, they don't, when it comes to service department, usually they don't care. Oh, this breaks, I don't care. The company will fix it. I worked with guys in the past who don't work here anymore. I worked in the service department. When they take responsibility of a company vehicle, they don't report like the engine check light being on, or they don't report that the oil needs to be changed. You start getting like the smell of burning oil, or there's a flat tire. They don't report it. They don't care. These are guys who don't care. They just care for the paycheck, and they just assume, well, oh, else will report it and whatever. When it comes to a company vehicle, and you're basically taking responsibility of that vehicle because you're the one driving around to the service calls. You need to maintain the vehicle. You need to report any issue. If a check engine light comes on, find out why. Let your boss know or someone in the office know, hey, I'm a check engine light. Can I stop by a mechanic and see what's up? If you got a flat tire, report the flat tire, or change that tire. Get it changed out. If, you need gasoline. Because at the end of the day, also, at times your vehicle, when you return it back to the company, warehouse or whatever, or the shop, the vehicles, half the time they bring it back like almost empty. The best thing to do in this situation is before you head back to the shop or to the parking lot where you need to store the vehicle, fill her up. Fill her up. If you see that it's like at a quarter tank, fill her up. Like, that's what I do. I tell my boss, hey, I'm going to fill her up before I return back. But before I get back to the shop, I'm going to fill her up. Do it, because by you letting the office know, hey, I'm going to do this and that before I head back with the vehicle, you want to take care of the vehicle, that's showing them that, hey, this guy, he cares. He's making sure that we're still running a well-oiled machine here. Because a vehicle that's not maintained properly and not being reported by the technician, it will come back to the technician. Believe it or not, it does come back to you, because you are taking not just ownership, you're taking responsibility of the vehicle, because that's your vehicle. You're the one driving around the city or neighborhoods. If you're not taking care of it, that's on you. And now the company has to take away the vehicle, bring it to an auto mechanic, and there could be numerous issues, and then you're left with no vehicle, or they have to find another vehicle out or whatever, and that's more money put out there for the company. And yeah, you're sitting there like, well, I don't care, they got money, but it's harder. You got to look at the business aspect. It's going to be harder for them too. But then what if they don't find a vehicle, whatever? They got to put you with somebody, or they just don't schedule you at all. They're like, listen, we know you don't want to do projects. You're more into service calls. What happens? You're at home. No vehicle. You stay at home. Um, so be mindful of that too. You have to think of the business aspect on their end. You always can't say, "Well, I don't care. They got money. They could pay for this." Listen, if you don't report it, they're gonna look at you and not trust you at all with any vehicle. So always, keep an open mind about things like. Hello, can I ask you a question? Yes, if it's about me trying to end, about me ranting, I'm sorry. I get it. I'm gonna end the conversation in that subject. We're gonna get into safety in 2 seconds, but yes, Ropio, goodness, I guess you can ask a question. Go right ahead, sir. I'm sorry if I'm ranting. I am ranting. Sorry, or rambling. Whew. I think I got the point out there anyway, straightened out. So sorry if I ramble, guys. I when I get into the business aspect of it and all, like I just get into it. I try to just drill it into like apprentices' heads or other mechanics who don't know, and. So go right ahead, Ropio. Ask a question. You're always free to ask a question, my friend. And thank you for coming in onto the channel. It says yesterday I was playing, but then I had pure and diarrhea. Can we both eat the same stinky binky poo? Okay, buddy. No. Don't know why you would ask that question. We're expecting something along with the electrical trade here, but listen, buddy, if you're here to, I mean, it's a funny question. I listen. I have a sense of humor too, but at this point, I can't really answer that right now. You know what? I would say no. You can't. You can't. Rabbits do it, but don't do it. Humans can't just eat poop and their own stinky diarrhea. That's just weird. Um, don't do it. He's like, I'm sorry. Oh, I had fewer diarrhea. Can we both eat the same stinky? No, dude. Why would you ask that question? All right, you're being funny. I get it, but let's just try to keep a level head here. And if you got a question about the electrical trade or anything, ask away. I don't mind answering. All right. Um, Gosh, I hope that's not somebody I know. God, I bet it is. Oh man. Listen, if it's anybody I know who's under a different name, please try to. I know you're trying to be funny. I get that. I have a sense of humor too, but we try to, keep it. We can be a little joke. You can joke around once in a while, but let's try to keep things, in perspective. All right. What do you believe? Oh, great. I guess this is somebody I know. Listen, I'm names because I don't like to, call out people's names on social media or on my channel actually. So, yeah, I'm gonna possibly assume maybe. Okay, understand. Understood. I appreciate that, dude. Um, okay, so we're gonna go next topic about job safety. But again, before we get into that, if you're late in the convo here, okay, um, if you need an electrician, if you live in the New York City area, within the 5 boroughs, because we're going to try to get into Staten Island as well. Okay, so Ropio goodness, pure beauty, diarrhea, delicious. Okay, dude. You know what? Listen, like I said, I have a sense of humor, dude, but I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to put you on timeout, buddy. We're not here for that. So, it's good time, but try not to go crazy on this. Listen, if you're a spammer, you're gonna get either timed out or kicked off. So, be clean here. We're not trying. Let's not be disgusting here. This is not what. Okay, this is not what this channel is all about. Like I said, I have a good sense of humor myself, but when it comes to this chat, please try to keep it to a minimum, especially bad language and so forth. All right, so let's see what else. Yes, so we're gonna talk about safety on the job site. Safety is number one. It doesn't matter which trade you're in. We want to keep things we want to keep the job site as safe as possible. And all the time, it's always 100%. We are gonna come across where, hey, um, someone falls off a ladder, loses balance, or someone gets get someone's hand stuck or caught in between an obstruction or a vehicle. You're always going to be on a job site where there we go, we got some light, where there's going to be an injury or two, or more, and that's the importance of importance of job site safety. It's so vastly important that now requires courses to be educated in job safety, to be certified. And I know I've said this in countless videos, and this is not going to be a long segment on this. Safety is important. I just want to say that being certified with the right amount of credentials is also important. And if you are trying to be certified in OSHA, get your OSHA certification, please do. 30 hours. Here in New York City, it's a little different. We're required to have 40 hours minimum to 62 hours of site safety training. Okay, and I want to bring that. I want to bring that clearly to all you apprentices or mechanics. Maybe you're, I don't know, you work for a company, you haven't even gotten your SST, or you're in the service department. Now, those of you guys also in the service department, it's clear you need to still have your OSHA 30, or your OSHA or your 40 hours of site safety training. Just because you're not working at a job site doesn't mean that you're gonna come across. Sometimes you may come across a residential job site where your boss is going to tell you, hey, or dispatch may tell you, hey, some guys are doing some residential construction. They need like a couple more guys. We're going to reroute you because we don't have anything on the board for you, and you're going to need it. And if you want to work, you want those hours in, yeah, take that opportunity, for that time. You may not work in construction sites all the time, but you may come across a scenario where they're going to need you on a job site. All right. And actually, before we get into that, hold on a second. Let me see here. If you want to get your certification, you can check out OSHAeducationcenter.com. They do offer the 30-hour training. They also 30-hour training and SST. So if you click SST, for you guys who are living in the 5 boroughs or within the city limits of New York City, it says New York City Site Safety Training for Local Law 196. So it's DOB approved training. Okay. It's 100% online courses, so you can take it online. You got one for SST for workers, and you got one for supervisors. Now, if you are a foreman, you're required to take the supervisor. You're required to get, I think, about 62 hours of SST training. Yeah, 62 hours. I mean, here's all the courses. Yes, they are pretty pricey, and you know, if your employer pays for it, even better. You know, take the courses, get it done, get qualified. You know, the more qualifications you get, the more value we become. All right. So this is a lot for any supervisor, you know, site safety coordinator, foreman, project managers. Yes, get your SSTs. Okay, this is what's required. You get all these electives, special electives. You know, they are costly, but if your employer does pay for your education and these courses, let them pay for it. Attend the courses. If you are doing in-house, I know how hard it is to just sit in a classroom. I'm not a classroom type of guy. To be honest with you, I hate being in classrooms. But you know, if I have to go, I'll go. But you know, usually I like to go online and do things from home because it's, you know, it's just easier, I guess. Now, for workers, if you are a mechanic and below, you can just get your 40-hour. Okay, so let's see, learn more. For current workers, you can apply and get the bundle. Now, if you have an OSHA 10, a 10-hour OSHA card, listen up. There's a lot of confusion with like apprentices or mechanics who have not taken these courses, and they've taken the OSHA 10 course and they're like, oh, well, why do I have to take OSHA 30, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I gotta take a 40-hour course, so why don't I just take the OSHA 30 and just call it a day? Like, that's it. I got my 40 hours. Well, believe it or not, it won't count. 30 hours is just 20 hours. You're adding 20 hours additional, 20 additional hours on your OSHA 10 to get a 30-hour OSHA. And that's about it. You're not going to get a SST card. What is required is that once you get your OSHA 30, you have strictly 30 hours. It's not 40 hours. That's not how it works, okay? Just saying. Because in the 30-hour OSHA course, you have OSHA 10 courses with that. So as you go through the OSHA 10 courses in your 30-hour and beyond, you will receive an additional 20 hours, and that will count as 30 hours because there's more courses to it. After that, in order to get the 10 additional hours, you will need to take an SST 8-hour fall prevention, which is $224, and then take a 2-hour drug and alcohol awareness. Right there, that's 10. That's 40. You're done. Then you get your SST card, which is about $50. But right now they're doing a special offer, 20% off entire bundle. So if I go check out, it's all clicked in already. You're basically paying $259. So the subtotal originally is $325. That's not bad. They take out $66, so you're paying $259. That's not bad. But that's only if you have like your OSHA 30. Now, originally, for this to happen, they used to have right here, it used to be the 30-hour OSHA. But now that in New York City, more and more construction tradesmen are getting their OSHA 30 or currently have it, they now switched it up to an SST worker card. And then they offer also with that the 8-hour fall prevention and a 2-hour alcohol drug and alcohol awareness. So if you currently have sorry, if you currently have your OSHA 30 and also need an SST worker card, this is included in the bundle, and all you'll be paying for is $259 in total. You get a discount of $66 minus $66 from the 325 subtotal. That isn't bad. Actually, I would pay if I didn't have my certification. I only had OSHA 30. I would go for this. To be honest, I mean you'll get the money back in the long run if you think about it. But if your employer pays for your courses, have them pay for this. I mean, it's not too bad. You can also do if you're a contractor. You can also do bulk. They give you bulk discounts as well. All right. So the bulk discounts. Let's take a look. Oh, actually, you just gotta fill out this form right here, and they will send you a discount package. Let me see. Corporate home. Okay, this is just for like a company, corporate company. Okay, so that's different. All right. So yeah, you can still apply for it, and they'll send you like all the information. So this is a pretty good website. I go to this website to renew my certifications. You can also go to 360training.com if you just want to strictly do your OSHA 10 and OSHA 30 renewal. They usually are a little cheaper at times if they're doing promotions. So let's see if we can check it out. Because safety is important, guys. You want to be qualified to work on a job site. You need to courses. $55. Hello, there you go. OSHA 10-hour training online. Okay, this is the same website. What am I doing? That is the same. Okay, here we go. There's the actual site. So, see OSHA and if you are bilingual or if you know, tú hablas español, you can also they also do it in Spanish as well, the courses. So if you do not speak Spanish, I know my Spanish is terrible. Tú no entiendes en inglés. Si habla español está aquí en 360training.com. Say you guys can do that, if you're bilingual or if you just speak Spanish. I'm terrible with my Spanish. I told you guys, I'm not really good with my Spanish. I have the accent, but my wording is wrong at times. So I'm I got to pick up on my Spanish. So they have a Spanish version it says Spanish version of our OSHA 10 and 30 outreach courses are now available. Durable DOL card delivers 7 to 10 days after course completion. All right, so you can take that course as well. Let's see what we have for all industries. Here we go. They provide the OSHA 30 course here as well. And right now it's currently $159. Okay. They have it in Spanish, en español, and inglés. Same price, $159. You can also get the bundle if you are in a different state and it requires that you have both the OSHA 10 and OSHA 30. You can do that as well. They have a package here, which is $209. It's $159. So how much is it for the 10 hour? 10 hour is $79 for general construction and construction. Okay. Healthcare professionals, factory workers, warehouse. So if you're in the construction, you can go for construction, and it's $79. And if you are in the general industry for like healthcare, factory workers, warehouse manufacturing, you can also get it for $79, which is not bad on the OSHA Education Center. Let's see what we have here. I don't know if they do. Oh, let's see. OSHA 30 is $159 on 360training.com. And for construction, no thank you. I'm not trying to buy it right now. Let's take a look at OSHA 30-hour training. Oh, it's $179. So actually, see, if you shop around a little bit, look at that. So if your state just requires you to have an OSHA 30 or OSHA 10, it used to be in New York that if you are just a worker, like let's say if you're a mechanic in the electrical field to a mechanic and below, you can just get the OSHA 10, and if you're a foreman, supervisor, or a project manager, it's required that you get the OSHA 30. So since I have an OSHA 30, it doesn't mean much anymore. I just have the OSHA 30. I'm still well aware of being a supervisor and stuff, but if I want to be a foreman on a job site or supervisor, I have to go and get my 62-hour SST training. I currently have a 40 hours, so I have to work on getting 62, but that's later down the line, later down the road. So anyone outside New York City, if it just requires you to have OSHA 30, they have it for 179, but an OSHA in 360 training, they have it for right here, OSHA 30 construction, right here, 159. So you save yourself a few more bucks. All right, so whichever floats your boat, guys. Like I said, site safety training is important, and really, be very safety conscious, especially you guys out in the service departments. And just it doesn't matter where you are, especially if you're working in someone's house. Wear your personal protective equipment. You don't have to wear a hard hat. You can just wear the basic gloves and eyewear. Make sure you're wearing proper boots as well, because it's very important. You're working with electrical. You wanna stay safe. You wanna be vigilant when you're working in someone's home as well. Rather than much for construction, you want to do the same, equally the same in residential. All right, so be very mindful of safety. Never work with the power on. We should all know that by now. Never work with power on. Test the equipment. Test everything. You want to make sure, if you're as an electrician, you want to make sure off if you're working on it. If there's no way of you turning off the power, there's procedures of working with live, with live, circuitry, circuits. And if you practice safety procedures on that, apply it to it. Take your time. Don't rush. If you rush a job, you're working live, you're rushing to do the job, you will definitely make a mistake, and you can get injured or killed. So be very mindful when working with working in live panels, doing live work, because your boss, you can have a boss that tells you, oh, you gotta, they need power, this and that, you gotta work live. Listen, let them know, hey, you want me to get this done, I'm gonna take my time. And if they have a problem with that, tell them, all right, get someone else to do it. It's your life. You don't want to lose your life over because of someone wants to rush you to do the job. You don't want to do that, because rushing the job could lead down to mistakes. All right, and all I can say is be very careful. Be very vigilant. Wear your gloves. Wear your specs. When you're on the construction site, wear your hard hat at all times. Safety boots. Also, if you're working in the area where there's like a lot of dust, wear your masks. Definitely wear a mask, because there's a lot of dust in the air. You got guys who are on the job site working with concrete, and there's concrete has silica. Most of the time it's silica, or sometimes it's asbestos. So when it comes to me working at the job site, I tend to wear a mask. You don't want any of that going into your lungs, because it can settle. It's very hard to remove it, and at times it can't be removable at times as well. You apprentices and mechanics and new mechanics, wear a mask on the job site. No matter if it's outside, doesn't matter. Wear a mask, wear gloves, protective eyewear, or if you're the type who wears protective shield, still wear your eyewear behind it. Wear your hard hats, and wear reflective clothing. It's important you wear reflective clothing, reflective vest, high visible orange or yellow sweater or shirt. That's acceptable. All right. If you guys, I know there's electricians who work at night. Make sure you're wearing reflective gear because it can be tough at times, even like at night, and if it's raining, especially for if you're working outside by a street or whatever, or there's you know a work truck coming in on the job site, you need to have that on for them to see you. All right, it's very important. You're risking your life if you're not well equipped on the job. If you're not wearing personal protective equipment, um, it could lead to injury, death, and not only that, if you have a family, you go home to, you want to make sure you're wearing all that protective gear. Um, don't be careless. You're working with a grinder. Wear safety goggles. Wear gloves. All right. So, um, man, we really gone over the limit here. I've actually usually now I'm supposed to be like on for like an hour. So, God, I've been rambling. I gotta stop that. But anyways, guys, listen. I really appreciate you guys showing up. You're awesome. I gotta say, you guys.
Have you ever felt? Are you listening?